Hello? Okay, it says I'm live over on YouTube, so hello wonderful people of the internet. Welcome back to another episode of Leos Labs. Today, bit of a weird day, a bit of a weird stream. It's just entitled Yo, and I just want to talk. So, yeah, long story short, if you read the description on YouTube, I'm going to be live a little bit more often on YouTube as, well, YouTube and Twitch at the same time. So I've got this set up, so I'm using, like, I've got Twitch, I've got YouTube, I'm live at the same time on both. I just want to talk about what's been going on with this channel, what I'm going to be hopefully doing in the future, all this kind of stuff. I know every single time people like go onto my like Twitch stream or anytime I've done a YouTube stream in the past, for the most part, like, I don't know how to put it, but like I talk about logistics like all the time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I never really do any of that kind of stuff, or at least I have in my head that I'm going to do it. And I want to talk about why that is. And I do want to talk about like what my dream is for this channel in the near future. Minecraft player, James Dean, Dag Marsky, hey, what's up? So this is going to be a quick logistical stream, and I want to hear your guys' comments. Lots of hearts. I appreciate all the hearts. I don't really know what that means, but hey, thank you so much. So, hey, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a great day. Right, so long time ago when I started Twitch, like, I don't know, way back in 2016, 2015, maybe even 14, like 10 years ago, really? Anyway, long time ago, I would do this thing where I did this live stream on Twitch, and I do that every morning from 5 to 7 in the morning, every single morning, and I do something, and for the record, a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff I did on that Twitch stream did not ever appear on YouTube. None of it appeared on YouTube. We did a lot of simulations. The invisible lens simulation appeared on YouTube, but all of the finite difference time domain simulations, a lot of just other like big simulations we did, the Arch install speed run, like we did so many things on Twitch that just never appeared on YouTube. And it was a shame, because all of that footage is now lost. No one will see any of it ever again. In part because I kind of made sure no one would see it, because I'm always embarrassed of rewatching myself, and I just deleted all of the content. Whether I meant to or didn't, it is all gone now. And it's a shame. And so I thought to myself, man, wouldn't it be nice if all of that content was just live on YouTube and people could watch it? But I couldn't do that at the time because YouTube did this weird thing where like the live streams were kind of like built in to like the videos that you would also put out at the same time. And with all of that like said, it was very difficult to do a live stream and then also put out different content, because that different content would be kind of like pulled down by the live stream viewership, right? Because the YouTube algorithm says, oh, well, your viewers didn't watch your last video, which was a live stream, which is like a 2-hour-long Minecraft playlist or something like this. So we're not going to watch your next video, which could be like, it could take like a phenomenal amount more effort. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't make sense on YouTube to do the live stream on the same channel that I'm also doing the other content on, right? But recently that's changed. There are kind of these different ways in which people can put videos out online. And so doing live content on YouTube doesn't necessarily hurt the rest of your content. And also it's important to do like YouTube Shorts and a bunch of other stuff. So I want to experiment with these different ways in order to create content online in the future. Now, for those of you who are here and you've been here for a while, you might also know that I haven't really been streaming that much at all. And part of that's because I have a kid, but a lot more of that is just due to what I can best describe as stage fright. I don't really know how to explain it outside of that. It's just, I generally have like a quite negative perspective of who I am and how to present myself. And even though I feel like I can hold conversations with people, like I'm holding a conversation with you now, there's always like this like little grain of like me just like feeling like I don't know what I'm doing and feeling a bit fearful to show that off. Hey Husky, what's up? Minecraft player, hey, I'm sorry about your indigestion. I still haven't gotten into watching shorts. Yeah, the thing is, I also have not gotten into watching shorts because this thing is not an entertainment device for me. I still have not moved past that psychological boundary where I can use this to like use apps on it and stuff like that. Like I had Reddit installed for a bit, but then I just kind of deleted it because it made me feel bad. And so then I was like, oh, let's watch some YouTube videos on this. And then I just feel like, but why would I do that when I have a bigger screen on my desktop? I have not figured out how to use this thing yet. I will one day, but not today. So with that said, like shorts just have never really made sense to me. But maybe one day they will, and maybe this stream is a way for me to start doing that again. So as I was talking about the history of Leos Labs, we had the streaming era where there was consistent content coming out. Maybe 1-2% of that ended up like appearing on YouTube. But I would like to show the streams more, like on YouTube as well. And then there was I just had a kid, I'm working at MIT, there's too much stuff going on in my head, and that just meant no streams for a while. But now, something happened, and I feel like maybe it is my how do I put this? It is my duty, I suppose. I don't know the right way to put this, but I feel more like, in a sense, obligated to do streams, but in a good way. Let me explain. As someone that is 5'7", shorts make a lot of sense to me. That's fair. Yeah. I'm 175 centimeters. I have no idea what that means in feet and inches. Hey, dude, just arrived. What's up? So let's talk about what just happened. This is where things get a little bit difficult for me to exactly explain why I'm back to streaming now, when I wasn't back to streaming like a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, or last year even. So why am I starting again now? And that is gonna unfortunately be a little hard for me to describe. So let me just try. All right. Last week we had an election in the United States of America, and this is not a political stream. I'm not going to get into politics in any way, shape, or form, but what I will say is that I was disheartened by the results of that election, and I think a lot of people in my community were as well. And there's a whole bunch of different reasons as to why we could talk about it, we could point fingers and all that kind of stuff, but none of that matters. What matters is that we, as individuals, recognize that some people were upset. Even if you supported Trump, you can recognize that there are a whole lot of people who are very upset right now. And so with that said, I think it is important for us as people to move forward and try to do things that we feel benefit other people in the best way possible, right? And so when I'm thinking about things that I can do that will make an impact in the world as it exists today, the number one thing that always comes to my mind is just to do research. And not only to do research, but to communicate that research in the best way I possibly can, right? I've always said time and time again that your research is only as good as you can communicate that to other people, right? And I stand by that statement, and I feel like it is something that, researchers have kind of lost sight on. There's always a communicator of the science. There's a scientist, the science communicator, and then the normal people. Normal people, you know what I mean? The people who do not necessarily do research in science, right? But in general, the science communicators are quite separate from the scientists, and that never really made sense to me. So what I had intended to do back when I was live on Twitch almost every day is to find a way to stream doing research, but I never really could quite figure out how to do it because I don't know, there's just so much going on. Like, how do you read a research paper in a way that's like engaging to a bunch of people? It's basically impossible, right? There's no way to like do research in a way that will engage as many people as like Mr. Beast. You know what I mean? You can't do something that is going to make everyone happy, right? And as somebody who was both a researcher and a YouTuber, the YouTuber brain in me was saying, yo, you like to do research, you love reading papers, but that doesn't necessarily translate to your community. That doesn't mean other people also enjoy doing this thing. And so I tried to find a bunch of different strategies in order to make content that was both interesting to me as a researcher, but interesting to other people who are not necessarily researchers. And I ended up kind of hitting the middle ground that made nobody happy, right? Like, my videos were not as in-depth as 3 Blue and Brown videos, but I made up for it with the algorithm archive, but people didn't really understand that. Just a lot of junk, right? And so I say, screw it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm unhappy. Everyone's kind of pissed. Let's just be unapologetically a researcher online, okay? I'm going to be honest. It means that there's going to be some people who are going to leave. There will be a whole bunch of people who are going to stop watching me on Twitch. There's going to be a bunch of people who are going to stop watching me on YouTube. And that, to me, is okay. Because I think the point of my YouTube channel, the point of the Twitch stream, should be to do the maximum good I can for as many people as possible, right? Myself, my wife, my family, we're in the, a decent financial situation right now. Not great. I obviously still need a job, but we're not struggling in the same way many Americans are, right? And so it's okay for me to maybe have a live stream that's not necessarily getting the most views if I'm doing things that make me happy and make my community happy, and also help me to just get more people interested in doing research, right? So that's where I'm at right now. There's a comment by 10x Programmer here. Trump promised to make everything better, lower taxes and more income, so it'll be good for everyone. Yeah, maybe I'm just very naive, and maybe in the next 4 years, everything will be fine. That's okay. It doesn't really matter that my motivations for starting stream again were in part because of a political event. To recognize that the thing I want to do is not inherently political. I just want more people to do research. And part of the problem is that there aren't very many people doing research online. Like, there are basically no open research labs. And so I want to start doing that, Hey, Flask, what's up? Have you seen Yannick Kitchen's YouTube channel? Host of his videos are literally just going through research papers, and he's got a lot of traction. That's fair. That's actually really how do I put this? that is very heartening to hear, like the opposite of disheartening. I'm hoping that this is something that people will enjoy. Are too focused on social media algorithm content generation as business rather than just streaming and recording and publishing whatever you are happy with? Your focus on quality is enough to worry about. Lobotomize that YouTube brain. I mean, this is true, right? If it wasn't for the content brain, I would have probably made a whole bunch more content in the past 2 years. Are you still in Alabama? No, I'm actually in Barcelona right now. 2 Minute Papers is also pretty. Yeah, 2 Minute Papers, I'd recommend their channel. They're great. It's just a lot of these people that are focusing on research, like was mentioned earlier by Husky, are very AI focused, and I'm very much not AI focused. I do computer graphics or computer programming in various forms, but I know AI, the hardware that I work on does AI, but it's not the same thing. As long as it's comfortable and good with you, brother, that's what matters. Yeah, I think this is exactly what I mean. Like, my brain just kind of goes off the rails when I start thinking about like the optimal way to do something. I don't know if other people are like this, but if you've done a PhD, how do I put this? If you are a researcher, if you're someone who studies a lot, your brain just kind of naturally wants to do the most efficient thing. I don't know any other way to describe it other than you see X and you see Y, and for some reason your brain is like, ooh, these two things could work together. Let's optimize this. You know what I mean? Like, something about my brain just constantly wants to do like the best possible thing at any given point in time. But the fact is there is no best possible thing. And by spending so long trying to figure out what that thing is, I'm doing nothing, right? And obviously waiting is the worst thing to do, right? So let's talk about different projects that I'm working on right now. And what I want to hear about from you guys here in the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat, and also in the comment section after this video is posted. What is the most interesting bit of research that I'm currently doing? What research are you actually interested in? What would you like to see? And with that in mind, like, what types of stuff would you like to see on this channel in terms of research? Like, just stuff like that. 2 Minute Papers is quite short form, so it's not really one-to-one, but very entertaining stuff. Yeah, this is the issue, right? Like, it's almost impossible to just read a paper and make that entertaining. It's not, I don't think it is actually strictly possible to do that. But maybe that's what I'm going to try to do in the next few months, right? It's basically, it's going to be a really cringe for the next month, right? While we start to get into the gears of things and try to figure out what works and what doesn't. And then as we start to figure that out, I'm hoping that the stream starts to become more of this kind of like office hours type of vibe. You know, you come in, you ask your questions. I'm trying to get work done at the same time. We just generally have a good time while also doing research in the background, right? This is hopefully what happens. We'll see. Okay, so let me go ahead and pop into this screen and go here and open up Zernal PP. And let's talk about what's going on. So research topics, things that I'm doing right now. Okay, so 1, MIT work. 2, Laos Labs work. Okay. So right now I'm kind of working for 2 different groups in a way. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm still technically employed for MIT. That is, I'm a contractor for them and I do a lot of work for them. So what work am I doing right now? So 1, I'm doing molecular dynamics. For those who don't know, molecular dynamics is essentially simulating the dynamics of molecules. A long time ago, we were doing how do I put this? A simulation of a 4D galaxy, right? Some people might remember the video. I actually took it down because I don't know, I didn't like it. I get very critical of my own videos, right? But it's essentially the simulation of all of these point particles feeling each other's forces, right? And that's exactly what molecular dynamics is. You have a bunch of molecules, a bunch of these point particles that are feeling all the other molecules, and they're just kind of moving around in this kind of slop. I don't know how to put it, a liquid, a gas, something like this, right? There's a whole bunch of things that molecular dynamics can be used for, like, for example, protein, folding simulations, all this kind of stuff. It's quite cool, yeah? I thought a lot about it, but never really went into it. To be honest, I would say that the majority of the work that I've done as a researcher has been with molecular dynamics. I don't know why. I just keep implementing and re-implementing this stuff. So 2, I'm also doing GPU work. Okay, so when I say GPU, I think most people probably know what I'm talking about, but to be very clear, the GPU is a graphics processing unit, right? So it is a device on your computer that is essentially meant to do graphics, right? The core difference between the CPU, what you typically use for programming, and the GPU, what is used for graphics, is that the GPU is built as this massively parallel computational device. That is to say, when you do computation on the GPU, you always have to think about everything acting at once instead of one iterative process at a time. It's quite complicated, but for the most part, when I'm doing stuff for MIT and I'm doing, Julia Lab stuff, I'm focusing on Julia GPU stuff, which basically means I'm like kind of working with the gutters of the Julia ecosystem a little bit in order to, make this like heterogeneous API. So your code can run on CUDA, AMD, on basically any hardware you could find, right? And so half of my work is spent just on the molecular dynamics part, making it so the code that we're running can run on any GPU, doing some automatic differentiation stuff, all this kind of stuff. And then the other half is spent Julia GPU, just kind of in the weeds, trying to make sure that the software is working for everybody who is using Julia at this time. And I will say, being completely honest, I 100% believe that the Julia GPU ecosystem is the absolute best GPU ecosystem we have right now if you want to do general purpose GPU computing. That is to say, if you want to use CUDA, you can probably just switch out Julia GPU and it's going to work just fine. So Leos Labs work. I actually have a lot of Leos Labs work going on, but none of it's really going anywhere, which is another reason I wanted to do this stream. Greeting from Florida. Hey, how you doing? So I'm writing this animation engine. All right. So let's go into the history here, because obviously I want to talk about the history of my own research projects, right? So when I finished my PhD back in 2019 to 2020, I was very burnt out of physics just because, look, there's 100 different reasons, and I talked about them all on stream, and I don't necessarily want to go into them again. But I was basically the only one who was doing hardcore computation in my lab at the time. And it was very difficult to do that when, to be honest, everyone else was kind of it had a completely different vibe. And so I kind of felt like, in a way, I put up a shell, I felt like, I was constantly doing all of this unnecessary, all these unnecessary physics calculations, all this unnecessary, analytical work that I didn't really care for, to get to the research I wanted to do. And so at the time, I wanted to be able to just do research that I found interesting. And some research that I've always found interesting is computer graphics. I'm always up to date on the latest computer graphics trends. I love reading papers in the area. And I do GPU work, literally GPU. So it's all beautiful. It all fits together. It's something I've always wanted to do. So when I left the PhD, I went to MIT and I started actually looking into iterative function systems and stuff like this, some very basic fractal work, which, to be honest, is not interesting from a research perspective, but it's kind of fun to do, right? I found that the generation of point clouds with GPUs and stuff like this isn't very well sussed out. People cannot really do efficient splatting techniques on the GPU, or at least at the time they couldn't. Now with Gaussian splatting and stuff, it's actually much easier. And so I tried to create essentially a splatting technique, a way of doing rendering that was essentially a optimized iterative function system solve. That is to say, using fractals, Sierpinski's triangle, Barnsley fern, this type of formulation in order to create general purpose graphics rendering, draw more than just circles and squares, but to draw people moving and stuff like this. And I thought to myself, this is great. I could actually animate a story. I don't know, many people don't know this, especially if you're on YouTube, you probably don't know this, but I actually have been writing short stories and stuff like that my entire life. I love writing. And so to me, as the future of Leos Labs, I saw this idea of creating an animation engine to do these animations, using my technical expertise to create that engine, and then using my creative expertise, my storytelling expertise that I've been building over the course of my entire life, to then write a book so that I could essentially sell a fiction book. But I could also create this animation engine to do these really, really cool animations that other people couldn't do, at least not as easily as I could. In order to kind of sell this thing. It's great. It's what I call the Pixar approach, where you have this really deep research background in order to create stuff that basically anyone can consume and anybody enjoys, right? The problem with this animation engine is, well, because I was in the Julia GPU group, I was using Julia for so long, I attempted to do this entirely with Julia, right? And unfortunately, after time and time and time again of trying many, many different strategies to get this to work in Julia, it just didn't work out. And so in August, I started the process of rewriting this code in C, specifically with OpenCL. And it's been actually really nice. It's been relatively straightforward. But I have a lot of work there to do. So this is now called Quibble, and it's an animation engine entirely based off of iterative function systems and stuff like that. I'm quite interested to continue this work. No notification stream. Yeah, so the truth is I didn't put a notification on Discord because for Twitch people, you've already heard all this before. This is really mainly for YouTube folks who have not heard this before, and I just want to kind of update everybody. Tune-in papers is quite short form. Nowadays, you paste your story to some AI video generator, and the animation is done. I mean, if you want a crappy animation, sure. I don't know, like, my stance on AI is quite negative. I understand that some people could be quite positive about it, but the fact is you can't own the copyright of anything generated from AI. That might change in 4 years as Trump does his nonsense. But I think that's how it should be. I think any AI generated work should not be immediately copyrightable. As it is right now, it's likely that it's going to be in the public domain, but it's really not clear who owns the copyright there. So you can't just like, get the AI generated video and just go. I suppose that's fine for background footage. Maybe you could use it for that. But if you want to do actually an animation, you want to like, tell interesting stories and stuff like this. Even in that case, if the AI worked perfectly, right, it's still not at the point where you can use it in any real creative workflow, because it's going to basically ask, like, it's like asking your friend, hey, could you draw this picture for me, right? But the fact is that your friend will never draw the exact vision you have in your head, because it's a completely different person with completely different ideas of how it should go about doing and drawing that thing, right? I don't know. I have a quite negative perspective on AI. I think maybe some people are quite positive. I don't really see it as a useful tool right now. In the next 10 years, maybe it will be useful, but right now I haven't really seen a workflow where I feel confident using this thing. Minecraft Player, do you have any good recommendations for introductory resources on molecular dynamics? That's actually a really good question, because it depends on who you're asking and what your reasoning is. If you're basically doing MD for... like, I don't know, simulating proteins or something like that. If you want to do like real physics with this MD engine, probably what you're looking for is like an already like created molecular dynamics engine, like LAMMPS, for example. I don't actually know what LAMMPS stand for, but LAMMPS. This is already defined software that does molecular dynamics for you and is used for like a majority of all MD code. In this way, you're probably never going to have to write your own MD resources, because it's already done for you. Someone already did that groundwork, and you can probably just use this engine for the simulations you want. But it's not actually great at everything. For example, a lot of plasma simulations that I've done in the past, LAMMPS is not particularly good at this, There's also GROMACS, it's another one of these resources. So if you actually want to learn about how an MD engine works, for this, probably start with the n-body problem. Just Google n-body simulations. And then once you start learning how the n-body problem works, you're basically at a molecular dynamics engine. From there, it's just adding a whole bunch of additional features that you need in order to solve your particular problem. For example, if you're doing the n-body problem to solve a galaxy simulation, the things that you're going to need are quite different than if you're going to want to do a colloidal simulation in some sort of fluid or something like that. So that is that. Okay, Layos Labs work additionally. I just want to say, this is kind of weird, and I don't really know how to put it here, but just reading papers. All right, let me explain something to you guys. I actually really love reading papers. Like, I've always loved reading papers. It's something that I just wish more people did. And it's not something I'm officially doing, right? It's not like I'm getting paid to read papers. But I would love to just read more papers, right? Like, so if you guys here in the comment section, or maybe in the YouTube chat or YouTube comment section after this is done, the YouTube chat now, whatever, if you guys have ideas or things that you want to study, and you have papers you want to read, I'm kind of maybe keen for you guys just to go to Discord, go to the paper pile channel, and just throw papers in there, right? Like, anything you find interesting, any research you want to do, just throw some stuff in there. We can take a look at it on stream. Like, I know this might sound stupid, but like, I'm kind of at the let's just do stupid stage phase of my content creation career. And I kind of feel like it's fine. Maybe it is stupid to read papers on stream, but I find it really fun. And I hope that other people could also find it fun. And I feel like many people don't even know how to start reading a paper to begin with. And so having a community of people who just kind of read papers, do research together, that sounds beautiful to me, right? I really, really would enjoy seeing more people doing this and having research out in the open, explaining, difficulties and stuff like that. It's all stuff I want to see more of. And so if you guys have papers you want to read, ideas you want to go into, all that kind of stuff, even papers from the archive, yeah, 100%. In fact, maybe even better from the archive, because the archive is where a lot of open access papers are, like, or you can basically get anything you want from there, you know? So I'll put a link to Discord in the YouTube description and also in the comment section here in just a second, or in the chats over here. Okay, now there's number 3, and number 3 is a bit weird. All right, number 3 is a bit weird. I told you about the animation engine. I said, yo, I really like doing research. I love all this kind of stuff. I want more people to read papers. All of that is true. None of that is false. But I also do want a way to do more like writing and stuff, to show off the writing that I'm doing, and to get feedback on that type of thing. The way I see it in the business model that I have for this channel in the future, I would like to have my research as a way in order to tell really complex stories, right? Those stories could be about research, or it could just be, I have a book that I'm writing and I want to tell that story with the computer graphics research that I'm doing. In which case, I want a really good story, and I think I want to bring back Writing Wednesdays. Just one day a week, maybe not this Wednesday, but maybe starting next Wednesday, where we dedicate the entire day just to doing writing and just to talk about writing. Right now I'm writing a novel in verse, which is hopefully going to be around 10,000 lines when I'm done with it, about basically as an exploration of imposter syndrome. And I'm very interested to hear what people have to say about the story and ideas and stuff like that. So I would like to be able to bring this into the fold as well, but I know this is quite different than what a lot of people already know me for, and this has been part of my trouble, my struggle with making content online recently, because like a lot of people pigeonhole me. Pigeonhole might not be the right word. They say, hey, that's just a 3 Blue 1 Brown clone, like 3 Blue 1 Brown 0.5. You know what I mean? Like I'm somehow associated with like these math guys on YouTube, and don't get me wrong, I love the math guys. They're great. But in some sense, like my ideal future for this particular channel is not necessarily in math. It's more like in generally explaining research, enjoying that process, using the research, telling good stories that anyone can enjoy, like just kind of just my own vibe. You know what I mean? And so because I'm going into the whole, like, you know, just throw whatever sticks at the wall type of situation, like I'm doing whatever the heck I feel like I want to do on stream, I'm probably going to incorporate these as well. And so, yeah, okay, maybe they don't get as many views. Maybe I lose subscribers every time a Writing Wednesday comes by, but maybe that's okay. It might be okay to not focus so much on the viewership, not to focus so much on this type of stuff, but to focus more on like community growth and stuff like this. The way I see it is like, you know, if you watch Ludwig or whatever, or you watch any other streamer, they do variety content every now and again. They'll play a different game that they aren't used to playing. Like, just because they play Guild Wars 2 all the time doesn't mean they can play, they can't play Final Fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So having an extra day on stream that is like maybe a little bit different than the type of stuff that you would typically see from this channel, I think is good. It humanizes the channel. It makes it more of a, like, you know, just me, not just, I'm not playing a character. It is just who I am. It's stuff that I enjoy and I want to show on stream. So with all that said, we've been talking for a bit. I realized that, you know, this is just a one-off stream, and that you guys probably, my hope is that, you know, I can kind of point people to this stream, this YouTube VOD, once it's done, and people can go here and they can say, oh, this is kind of why he's back to streaming. This is why his business model changed and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, again, I'm hoping that people here watch this video, they kind of think about things that they want to do, like research that they find interesting, whatever it happens to be. Anything you find cool, I would like to talk about it more, you know? I like your stories. My favorite was a guy who see when somebody died. Oh, yeah. Grimm's memoir is amazing. I want to write that book so bad. If you like Grimm's memoir, I think you're really going to like this one. It's called Annabelle's Wish. Oh boy, I'm so excited for this book. I am so excited for this book. I cannot describe how excited I am for it. Man, yeah, this is a problem, right? Like, this is a really big problem. Every single time I try to like create content again, I just get like really mixed up. You know what I'm saying? Like I on the one hand, I want to do research, but on the other hand, I want to write this book. On the other hand, I want to like, you know, learn about quantum computing. On the other hand, I want to, you know, my brain's just split like 100 different ways. But honestly, maybe that's good. Maybe just acknowledging the fact that my brain is just everywhere and just going with the flow is actually the correct way to do this, because it means more content in a variety of different areas that people could enjoy. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. Again, I want to stream more. The first month is going to be cringe. I'm just letting you guys all know. The first month is going to be cringe. It's going to take me a while to get into the right workflow, to feel comfortable streaming this type of stuff. Streaming writing is already very difficult. Streaming reading papers, this is stuff that just won't come naturally to me, and it's going to take me time to rework my brain, so I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? So with that said, keep in mind, it's going to be a bit cringe, and I'm hoping that people still enjoy it and they understand where it's coming from and all that as we go forward. You work for MIT? Yeah, so I used to work for them full-time. Now I work as more of like a contracted position for them. I was thinking about writing an SQL FS plugin that presents Postgres queries as CSV files on a file system, making it easy to work with results from command line tools, Python, Perl, etc. But I don't know if that's a good idea. To me, it sounds okay. I mean, but the fact is, you might be asking the wrong guy because I don't really know where SQL fits into, like, I don't use SQL, right? I don't use Postgres. These are stuff that I don't know so well. To me, it seems weird that you'd go into a CSV file because CSV to me always feels a little bit inefficient. And, you know, I prefer more of like a binary type of a file system, or a binary type of file. But outside of that, anything that allows programmers to use their native language and yet still read code from another language is beneficial, right? We see this all the time in the Julia language where people try to use Julia as like this glue language between C and Fortran and Python and all this kind of stuff. And it's quite beneficial to have languages that allow you to do that. There was a streamer on here for a while, read papers on stream, but they were CS papers, and we would develop the software and documented as documented in the paper. Oh, that actually sounds really fun. Like there's currently an issue with academic writing in that like a lot of people will publish work that just doesn't really make sense. I was bitten in the butt with this a bunch of times. I found this paper one time for compressed sensing a while ago, and I was like, wow, the results here are amazing. They show that you could you can basically take any result from, essentially any result from a pseudospectral method and compress it by like a factor of 10 or something like this. And as someone who was doing GPU work at the time on a pseudospectral method, I really wanted to use this compressed sensing algorithm in order to take my simulation and fit more and more stuff on a single GPU. For those who don't know, when you're doing GPU computing, the whole name of the game is moving memory around in the most efficient way possible, right? And so what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're not sending the data, like let's say from the GPU to CPU, or you're sending the data from GPU to GPU. Like if you can, you want as much data as possible on each thread, otherwise on the shared memory between each threads, otherwise on the global memory, but you never want to get it from GPU to GPU, or you want to avoid transitions from GPU to GPU or GPU to CPU. Bit rambly, but the point was that this paper could have allowed us to do like a huge turbulent simulation on a single GPU, and I was so excited for it. And then I tried to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. I tried like a month or two to get this to work in my code base. I could not figure out how to do it. And so I emailed the guy. He sent me some Matlab code. And as I read the Matlab code, I realized the code actually does not do the thing that the paper said it would do, right? Now, I didn't ask the journal to like retract the paper or anything. It was kind of a no-name journal. It was not like one of those journals that really mattered. Yeah, all journals matter. My point is, it wasn't one of those things where it got like 100 citations and would like radically change like, you know, the world of computing as we know it. It wasn't one of those things. I was just very disappointed when the code just didn't work, you know. Academic source code is usually not good. Many researchers just don't know how to write good code. Tests how to make it easily reproducible. Yeah, exactly. This is also part of the reason I like doing these kind of researchy streams, because it shows that you can actually do research in a way that is like available to more people. You know what I mean? Like you can make it in such a way that like it actually does follow proper software and documentation guidelines and stuff like that. I can't remember the streamer. He graduated from MIT and CS, went to work at Amazon Research for a while, and now working for some AI company in Finland, but his screen name escapes me. That's fair. We recently learned about CUDA in university. It feels so empowering, as if the ground has shifted and the air has become lighter ever since. I would be interested to hear more about Julia. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely talk about Julia in the next few streams and stuff like that. I mean, we will. I mean, there will have to be Julia GPU streams if the thing I have in my mind is going forward, where I just kind of stream my research that I'm doing every day. And we have plenty of time to talk about GPUs, CUDA versus Julia GPU, all this kind of stuff. The main thing about when you transition from CPU to GPU programming is you do have to rethink your code. Like you can't just use your traditional serial code and like just slap some parallel for loops on there and hope it works. Some people try to do this, but for the most part, you don't get good results, right? So the hope is that we start to explain like why you would use OpenCL versus CUDA versus all this other stuff, and that should be fun. Any opinion on digital twins? What are digital twins? Digital twin is a digital model of an intended or actual real-world physical product, system, or process that serves as the effectively indistinguishable digital counterpart for its practical purpose, such as simulation, integration, testing, monitor, or maintenance. I may be misunderstanding exactly what this is used for, but if you're talking about just using a simulation as a exact replacement or as a nearby replacement to an experimental result, I mean, you do this all of the time in physics. This is just what you do. You know, my PhD was in, how do I put this? My PhD was in simulating a physical object, a Bose-Einstein condensate, around a nanofiber, both of which are very physical objects that can exist in the real world. And the idea was that by doing the simulation, we first of all show some interesting physics, and second of all, we motivate the experimentalist to try this thing, right? And so it's not so much like a digital twin type of thing. It's more of like a, hey, we have this idea for an experiment, but it's going to take like so many man hours to do. So let's just do the simulation, do the proposal, and hope that eventually things work out, right? And that the results are interesting enough that experimentalists are then interested in trying it as well. Would you recommend getting into CUDA now as a career choice? I'm very interested in vector programming and do C, Rust, and Python, focusing on math-related programming now. That is actually a very good question. I don't have an answer for you. And the reason I don't have an answer for you is because I don't know what the future is going to be. I really don't. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. You know, people are so focused on AI, it has to go somewhere, but it could also, the bubble could burst, you know? Who knows? Maybe in the next 10 years, people don't care about AI, and the next thing people care about are like, I don't know, like weird robotics that you add to your hand type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it could be that in the next 10 years, we have a completely different type of hardware. It could be in 10 years, people are focusing on, I don't know, quantum simulations or something like this, quantum technology. I don't know. I have no clue, right? So I can't really recommend anything because I don't know what the world is going to be like in 10 years. But what I can say is the following. Adding CUDA to your tool belt certainly will not hurt, especially because most of these machine learning models that people are doing, like the hardware that is coming out specifically for machine learning, also uses similar programming environments to what you expect from CUDA, right? And so if you write code in CUDA, if you're used to writing code for a GPU, transitioning to another massively parallel like hardware that you would expect for like more machine learning based approaches could be useful. So I think what I would recommend is not necessarily saying, oh, CUDA is my career choice, but adding CUDA as maybe not just CUDA, but adding GPU technology as a core integral component of the things that you know, and putting that on your tool belt because it is in high demand now, but keeping your eye out for the future to see what could be possible in the near future. So one stream I want to do, maybe tomorrow, maybe later this week, or maybe even next week, is I want to start talking about quantum computing. I want to talk about analog quantum computing, what it means, all this kind of stuff. I've got a lot of things I want to focus on and I want to learn about in that area, especially because I have a meeting with the CEO of one of the companies that does analog quantum computing here in Barcelona. I just want to learn about it. I don't want to look like an idiot in front of this person, you know? So one of the streams in the near future will be about that. From what I remember, the French nuclear operator created digital twins of closed down nuclear plants to plan out dismantling before building physicals demonstrators. Yes, I think that's exactly how these should be used. I mean, look, the actual answer is, if you're asking me, should you do a simulation before doing the experiment? My answer is always going to be, if it is possible to do a theoretical exploration of the space, do the theoretical exploration of the space first, right? And so if you can do a computational model of the thing that you want to model, then do that, right? If it's too complicated to do and you need the experiment, do the experiment first. But doing the I guess a digital twin, doing the simulation is almost always going to be beneficial, right? There's almost no reason not to do it unless it's just going to take too much time and effort, right? Because, for example, doing a simulation of turbulence, I mean, there's no real good way to do that. So sometimes it's better just to create like a toy model in your lab. Actually, this is one of those interesting things about quantum, right? The definition of what a quantum computer is has changed in the past 50 to 100 years, right? In the 1950s, you know, Feynman was talking about quantum computers, but what he was actually talking about was more something like that we would classically, or we would call today as a quantum simulator, right? Not necessarily a quantum computer. And so like the terms have kind of messed around a lot. And a quantum simulator is much more similar to a digital twin. It's like a device that you have on your table in order to simulate a large scale experiment. It's not like a computer as such. It's a small simulation that you're doing in the real world, right? before scaling to larger devices. And so a lot of times people get this confused, and when they start talking about quantum computing, they bring up a lot of quotes from Feynman, who was actually talking about a completely different device entirely. It gets complicated, but point is, if you can do toy models, always do toy models. Okay, so to be honest, guys, I don't have too much more I want to talk about today. I just wanted to come on live. I had a meeting earlier, and that meeting was canceled, and so I said to myself, hey, let's just go ahead, stream, get it on the books, say, yo, this is my plan for the next month. It's going to be a bit cringe. You guys are probably going to hate it. I'm going to have a whole bunch of people who unsubscribe. But in my mind, it's really, really good for me to put a step down or put my foot down and say, hey, I have skills that other people can't do. I have the ability to do research. I have the ability to talk about this kind of stuff in the near future in ways that other people can't. It would be a shame for me not to do research, not to at least try to open up a real open research lab. You know what I mean? Like I want people to be able to come in, talk about research, and enjoy the time, you know? Apropos new computing concept, there is this company who tries to implement computing with thermodynamic concepts like cells use it. Haven't looked into the details, but it looks interesting. Anything with .ai makes me a little scared. I guess similar reversible computing or adiabatic quantum computing instead of gate-based. Yeah, so adiabatic quantum computing is actually something I want to look at like soon, in the next week. I'm quite interested. So yeah, let me go ahead and open this link. Copy link over here and over there. Let's see. Thanks. My main doubts is that CUDA is proprietary. I also do quantum computing as a hobby. Having taken part in Q hacks for the last 4 years, now I do signal processing. Oil up, oil up, oil up. What does oil up mean? Is that something I should know about? So one other thing I want to say is when it comes to CUDA and it comes to proprietary stuff, there's also OpenCL. And actually, I find OpenCL to be genuinely pleasant to use, especially when compared to CUDA. They have their gives and takes. And for me, I typically land more on thinking that OpenCL is slightly easier to use than CUDA. But if you're worried about the proprietariness of it, you know, unfortunately, the Julia GPU ecosystem ends up calling NVPTX the same lower level code that CUDA does anyway, so it's still probably proprietary. Everything that you're running with NVIDIA is probably proprietary. So your best bet to get out of the proprietary blob bubble is using AMD, and probably using OpenCL for that instead. You could also use RockM, which is like a CUDA clone for AMD, but yeah, that's what it is. What are we saying? What is oil? What is this? What? I don't know what this means. I feel like, what does oil up mean, Katakana? Explain it, please. Okay, ushering in the thermodynamic future. We are very excited to finally share more about what Exotropic is building, a full-stack hardware platform to harness matter's natural fluctuations as computational resource for generative AI. What does this novel paradigm of computing practically mean for the world? It extends hardware... Do they have a paper? No. Is this their paper? Because I want an actual paper. Like, give me something with an abstract here, man. Like, don't give me... This is too much PR for me. I want something that's not too much PR. Give me something that's, like tangible. Unlocks powerful problem... Okay. The demand for computing power in the AI era is increasing at an unprecedented exponential rate. Luckily, for the past several decades, the miniaturization of CMOS transistor technology following Moore's law has allowed much of this exponential growth to be accounted for by increasing computer efficiency. Okay. There's probably... Okay, there's stuff here. There's no doubt stuff here. But what I find is so interesting about the quantum space, specifically the quantum machine learning space, is you can have one group that's actually doing legitimately good research and pushing the boundary of human knowledge in ways I've never seen before. And then the very next paper you read, like literally on the archive, is just word salad. And I'm like, what is going on here? And so I need like a good white paper is what I need. They say this is a paper, but right, it's a bit too much PR. Yeah, that's what I think what I want. I agree. First of all, 100% I agree that this is kind of stuff people are looking into this. Like there is good research in the area. I'm struggling to find... It's hard to parse what papers are actually good and which ones are not, is the problem. OpenCL came from Apple, and Apple has a talent for developing pleasant APIs, in my opinion. I will say the following, though. OpenCL is no longer... It's deprecated on Apple. So if you're going into OpenCL with the hope that it's actually useful on metal devices, as in Apple Silicon, like M1, M2, M3, M4 chips, it is currently usable, but it might not be for long. And so if you're using OpenCL as a way to target Apple Silicon, it might not be the best way to go forward. I will say that Vulkan should continue to have Apple support with Molten VK, and the process by which you're creating the OpenCL kernels can be applied as well to Vulkan compute shaders with some modification, up maybe 1,000 lines of modification. It's not easy, but it is possible to then take those kernels and almost directly translate them to Vulkan, which then can be used on Metal. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's not exactly... I would not recommend OpenCL for Mac at this point in time. They say that this is a paper, but right, it's a bit too much PR. Yeah, I'm not saying they're doing bad stuff. What I'm saying is that there's a huge disconnect between the researchers and the PR people in most companies for this type of stuff. Okay, so this is where I'm going to end it today. I think it was like a 45-minute stream, something like that. Not intentionally long. It was intentionally a quite short stream, just to let everyone on YouTube know, hey, what's been happening for the past couple of years. So let me go ahead and catch everybody up. So where am I at? 1, I used to do these live streams. I love doing the live streams. I want to do them more. That's it. That's the big TLDR is that I want to do more live streams. Problem is, I've been terrified of doing live streams because somehow my brain does not let me do them anymore. I just get incredibly nervous and stage fright type of, I just can't do them, right? And so I tried to create content that was more or less, you know, stream free, because my brain wouldn't let me do the streams. And that kind of led me down to an even more depressed rabbit hole. And now I just I'm in this weird space mentally. But I'm trying to break myself out of it. And the process of breaking myself out of it, I'm going to just do more streams that are maybe not the most entertaining for a lot of people. I'm hoping that people enjoy it. I'm hoping that people stick along and they join the community and we have a good time. But could be next few weeks, we're going to do some streams that people are not necessarily happy with. I want to show off things that I like, with the hope that other people do too. I'm going to try to basically turn off the content brain in my head, turn off my content brain and say, look, I'm not worried about viewership here. What I'm worried about is building a community of people who just care about doing research. They care about technically stuff. They care about, you know, pushing the boundary of human knowledge in any way they want to do that, right? So that's my goal. We're going to be doing a couple streams in the next few weeks where I'm going to try to figure out how this is going to work. And hopefully by the end of the month, we have a good dedicated schedule built up. We're able to do some research live here, and people are going to enjoy it. Hopefully enjoy watching that process. I'm going to be able to, like, you know, get some stuff done off stream to kind of like get more done on stream, if that makes sense. There's lots of things I want to try. So what I want to hear from you guys in the comment section to this YouTube video, for those on Twitch, I'm also streaming live on YouTube. So for the comment section of this YouTube video, just tell me things that you're interested in. Like, just write down anything research-wise you're interested in. It could be something stupid. You could say, hey, why is the sky blue? I don't mind doing a deep dive on why the sky is blue. That's actually really, really interesting, right? Maybe you want to talk about, like, I don't know, is my blue your blue? Something like this. You know what I mean? Like, how does color perception work? Like, that's attached to the sky is blue question. Maybe you're more interested in, like, a hyper-specific area of, like, bioinformatics, and you're like, yo, I don't really understand how this edit distance algorithm works, and I don't know why it works this way. Post that too. You know, basically anything that you're interested in, any type of research that you find, hey, I would love to just kind of grapple with together, just post down there in the comment section or on Discord. I'll go ahead and put some Discord links out right now. You should not be looking at that. That's a little bit, Oh, well, it's probably okay. So let me go here to the paper pile. Let me go ahead and give you guys an invite. And edit invite link, do that as never, and we're going to generate the link, copy, we're going to paste here, paste, and we're going to paste here, paste. Okay, so they say this is paper. Okay, so that's it. If you're interested in matrix multiplication algorithms with minimal time complexity, this is an interesting question, specifically because historically the matrix multiply algorithms, there was that Google matrix multiply algorithm that just came out. There's like a few years ago. That's like insane because they didn't actually do any. We could talk about that. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about. Deep diving into phenomenology of sensory neuroscience would be interesting. Oh dear, galactic algorithms are fun. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of different things to talk about. Post it in the comment section. Post it here on the paper pile. Just things that you want to talk about. Just do it. Just post it there, and then we can go from there. That's kind of where I'm at for now. So guys, that's it for now. If I missed a chat, sorry. I think I got everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time it happens to be your time. I'll see you guys around next time for the next episode of Leos Labs. Should be tomorrow afternoon. And I'm hoping that tomorrow afternoon we actually jump into the analog quantum computing discussion. I want to figure out, it kind of like, I've again, I've got this meeting with the CEO of a company nearby that does analog quantum computing, adiabatic quantum computing, and I want to know what this is. You know, like I know about quantum gates, but this uses a completely different model, and I want to know, like, is it possible to implement Shor's algorithm on this thing? I don't think so, but maybe it is. I have no clue. So this is stuff I want to Google. I'm probably going to do it tomorrow. What it's going to mean is we're learning together. Again, this doesn't mean I know about it and I'm talking to you about it. It means we're learning about this thing together, you and me. Completely different vibe than me giving you a lecture on this thing, right? So that's the main thing to keep in mind. As we go forward, this is not going to be me studying and then giving you like a journal club about it. It's going to be me learning with you guys, like reading the papers together, trying to grapple with it together, understand things together. So that's the type of stuff that I'm looking for. On Wednesday, I might come in for a writing Wednesday. Again, I've got this book that I'm so much a fan of this book. It's so amazing. I'm just every time I write this book, I'm just happy with it. And so maybe on Wednesday we come back to writing Wednesdays, or maybe we take a step back and we do that next week. So we have a couple streams in the book on the books doing like non-writing stuff. I don't know. Anyway, lots of stuff we could do. Let me know what you think. That's it for today. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys. Am I still live?